America has a secret. It involves the first peoples of this land. They have been here from the beginning. They have shaped the nation and built the fire that nurtured the earth. They have traveled the land and told its stories. They have inspired the creation of the United States. Now those people are dying, and they have protested year after year for their rights. Yet their education remains a problem. Did you know that only 0.9% of American Indians and Alaska Natives pursue higher education? They have a 13% dropout rate compared to the 6% of white people. The Native Americans are endangered, and so is their education. Why? Because blood quantum and census rolls from the late 1880s and early 1900s prevent the children of descendants from enrolling in the succession of the tribe. Soon they will cease to exist. Their children's identity will be in crisis, all because they cannot obtain an enrollment card, proof of indigenous ancestry. Without proof, unenrolled Native children will not get funding towards their education. Their identity will be in question. Poverty in the Native country will continue to rise, and the number of tribal members will decline, as well as the activism for teaching for our history will have been done for nothing. Why should this concern you? Wisconsin is home to 11 tribal nations, one in which the lands of the UW-Madison occupy. Madison has a small population of Native Americans, even though it's on tribal lands. And of the 382, maybe one of them is your friend. Maybe you consider them family. And maybe they may be suffering from the issue of Native identity and access to education.
Expanding economic opportunity for Native Americans. Together, we've stepped up support for tribal colleges and universities so that more young people can graduate with the skills they need to start a career. And I've never been more hopeful about our chances. Part of that hopefulness is because I've gotten to know so many of you, and I know the skills and the talent and the dedication and the values and the that you all represent. And I'm hopeful not just because of the work all of you are doing, not just because of the solemn commitment of tribal leaders all across this country. I'm also hopeful because the rising generation who I've seen embrace the responsibility of following in your footsteps.
Are you hopeful? This community cares about education. They let no boundaries stand in the way. They have erected tribal colleges across the United States. They have eliminated economic boundaries that withhold or may withhold enrolled members. Nations like the Oneida Nation have programs that allocate scholarships to its members with maximum limits. If those tribal members do not receive the tribal scholarship, organizations such as the American Indian Higher Education Consortium and ACES, as well as the American Indian College Fund, provide financial assistance. It's important to note that of these tribal colleges, only 4 have a 35 to 70% graduation rates degrees that are awarded. 8 of those colleges award 0 undergraduate degrees. Another issue that can be fixed by changing the membership requirement is the identity issue. People like Chris Bethman, who's a descendant of the Iroquois Nation who was unenrolled, face an identity issue. Like Chris, they may be asked, "How much are you? Do you have a card? Why should I believe you? You don't look like an Indian." And when they're enrolled in college, they may ask, "I bet you got to come here for free." No one should have to face that issue of not knowing who they are. Therefore, our membership needs to be changed, specifically the 1/4 blood quantum, which prevents so many descendants from enrolling. Even the Oneida Nation recognizes this need for membership changes, stating that blood quantum is not a sustainable enrollment solution. Tribes have the ability to change their constitutions and membership requirements. They can change the requirement to represent one of the other ways the Bureau of Indian Affairs classifies enrollments: shared customs, traditions, language, and tribal blood. It has been done before by large groups like the Cherokee Nation.
Because throughout Indian country, you've got a generation ready to build on what generations before them have built. They're out there stirring with hope and restless for change and ready to take ownership of their future. So let's make sure our work here is worthy of their efforts. Let's do everything we can to get things in the best shape possible for when they're in charge. And over the next 4 years, as long as I have the privilege of serving as your president, we're going to keep working together to make sure that the promise of America is fully realized for every Native American. Native Americans are doctors and teachers and businessmen and women and veterans and service members. And they get up every morning and help make America stronger and more prosperous and more just. We've created jobs, building new roads and high-speed internet to connect more of your communities to the broader economy. We've made major investments in job training and tribal colleges and universities, but the fact remains Native Americans face poverty rates that are higher by far than the national average. And that's more than a statistic, that's a moral call to action. We've got to do better.
By changing membership requirements, we give identity to those who are children of descendants. We reduce poverty when we give them access to education. No longer will they be in poverty, no longer will they question their identity, no longer will they face extinction. Changing the membership requirement is the only simple thing we can do. And by doing so, everyone wins. Yo, Uncle, Miigwech, thank you.